Stoked to be the Stokes with Brian and Ariana. It's about to get real, you better believe me. Just got married, trying to make it through life. See, with
a faith, honesty, and respect, we'll get through anything.
Stoked to be the Stokes, yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Stoked to be the Stokes with Brian Lamar Stokes.
And Ariana Stokes.
It's another double date.
Yes! This
Who
is
do we
like
have
double
with
date
us?
season. Okay, so we have with us the Quintanillas.
The quesadillas.
Stop!
And we're here for it.
Listen, he told me to handle all the last names.
I couldn't pronounce.
He will butcher.
I've
make
heard
his own thing.
I've heard the quinceañeras,
Oh,
so it's okay.
I tried. You know, but you got it. She's
Thank
the bilingual
you.
one,
So,
not me.
You don't have to be bilingual. It's just their last name.
Thank
so you
you.
have David and Gabby who are joining us today.
I
Yes.
love Gabby so much. And it ends there.
Brian and David have this mysterious beef going on, like
I love
school
it.
lunch mysterious beef bed.
So glad to have you on the show, Gabby. So good to see you again.
What you have to do with the
That's
show?
all right.
So
But thank you for tuning into another episode of Stoked to be the Stokes. We're so happy to have her here today.
Oh my gosh,
So
I'm gonna
babe.
die.
Okay, so again, we know Gabby and David from our church. We talk a lot about our church. We have so many amazing
We
couples.
go to the greatest church on
Yeah,
earth.
Yes,
full
right.
of amazing couples, amazing families, and it's a community that we're grateful for, because we feel like being surrounded by people who really love each other, who are genuinely building community, it really has impacted how we do life, So we're grateful to get to do life with you guys. Grateful that y'all are down to be on the show today and just open up your world to us as much as you'd like. So of course we always like to ask everyone, initially, what is your love story? How did you guys meet? Where? When?
Ooh.
I'm sure there's two different versions. So whoever wants to go first,
Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay.
give us your side.
So-
yeah.
No, that's the side.
That's the side.
That's the only side. I'm just kidding. So, I actually met David at our at the home church we were at. I was 14 when I met him.
Oh.
When we met, we
When we
didn't
met,
date.
Oh,
not
okay.
dated,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
because there is a 7-age gap between us.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was 14, a little girl coming to church, coming to Christ, and never in a million years did I ever think David, ever. Reason why is my best friend at the time was in love with David.
She was 14 too?
Yeah.
Oh, she had like a
Oh.
crush.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
she would say she was going to marry him.
Oh. So you were 21 at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are you still friends with this girl?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm like, that must
Okay.
be
It wasn't because of that.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So it was, I never really thought anything of David, and then, we were just friends at church, and then
When you were 14?
14, and then even throughout, and then as soon as I was in high school graduating, it was like we were really good friends. Like he would come over, like we all knew each other at church. And then I was like, as soon as I graduated high school, I don't know, something sparked between us. Weirdly. Was it weird? Yeah. Huh?
It was weird.
I was 8. I had just turned 18, graduated high school, and you were what, 25? 25. Yeah.
He knows bad. Good for him.
I'm trying to figure what did this friendship look like at 14 and 21? I know What did that friendship look like?
Just
in
because
terms of-
we were in church, like I was always the youngest out of all the friends. Like I've always been the youngest. So I always hung out with the older youth. And I mean, I was a little rebel when I was like 14, 15, 16. And it was just like, very innocent, like hanging out. We would go to Denny's, coffee. And then as obviously I got older, 17, 18, like innocent. Like he would just come over at my mom's and we would coffee, bread, or I would go over. And once I graduated, I started working, and it was more like freedom for me. So we'd go out to eat.
So it became more romantic
Yeah, a little-
interest
I
then.
think where we kind of ended up clicking more was because we'd created like a lot of like different worship teams at church, because we would have like this like a 24-hour worship type of event, like every like first of the month. So we ended up clicking up together like a lot. So I'll play the guitar and then she would sing. So that kind of every time we'd practice, that kind of created more of a link. So obviously over time we're like, what's up, you know?
I didn't know you
So,
played the guitar.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I knew you sang like because you're in the worship team in church, but I didn't know that you like played an instrument. Okay.
He plays like everything.
Really?
He just
I
doesn't
do.
say it.
Why are you on the worship team? Or, let me not. I'm like,
Oh,
Sorry.
my bad.
He's a little wild. But he plays drums, guitar,
Oh, wow.
piano, and then you did a little bit of bass.
A little bit.
A little
yes,
bit.
a little
So he plays.
That's awesome. Self-taught or you like?
bit. I self-taught myself to play the keyboard.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Very
But everything
impressive.
else kind of like little basic stuff, and I just kind of picked it up from there now.
Oh, that's
Good
awesome.
stuff.
So then when you guys became more interested in each other romantically, was it around the same time or were you like, oh, I have a crush on you? Or did
It
you
was
have interest?
like, you know what? When it kind of sparked between us, I remember I was young. I was 18, so I was like just graduated, you know, my first job. And I was really into church at that. Like, it was all about church, worship. I was a Sunday school teacher for the kids. Like, I was just very involved, dance. And I remember being like, God, I just don't want anything to do with guys. Like, I want to focus. I'm young. And I remember telling God in a prayer, like, God, the next man that ever enters my life will be my husband. And then a week later, it was like we had that conversation out of nowhere. Like, I think we might have feelings for each other. And it was he came with me to pick up one of my siblings from school, and it was like he confessed it. He's like, so I really like you. And I was like, uh-huh.
Oh, you said it first?
I was driving. So I'm driving and he starts telling me and I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, so you're not going to say anything? And I was like, uh-huh. I didn't know what to say because I was like, again, the age gap was like, I'm 18, he's 25. What are my parents going to think? Like, is this even serious? And David had a little past. So I was like, you know.
No, a little pass.
What kind of pass?
A
Big
little,
pass?
Little big pass.
What kind of pass?
What's the pass look like?
Tell him, babe. Tell me your pass.
No.
No. Pass like you had a lot of girlfriends?
Yes.
Oh, he did say he plays everything.
That don't make him a player. Were you a player?
I was.
You were a player.
Yeah, low-key
in the
was.
church
In
or
the
outside?
church. In the
In
church.
the church, out the church.
Excuse you?
Bruh.
Excuse you?
Not
Wow.
in the church.
Huh?
Not in the church.
Did you know that
No.
before? Like, did you?
I knew he
witness
had.
him
Yeah, I
being
knew
a
he
player?
had like interest with other women, and that's why I was very
No,
like.
the other way around.
They were interested in
Yes.
you. Oh, did you entertain their interest though? Is the question.
One. It was just one.
How you a player and you only entertaining one?
David.
I was low-key player.
A lie is a lie.
It's something like, I don't know. We good at math over here.
Yeah,
She
something
said.
No, in reality, no, I only dated 2 girls. It was only 2.
In the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only dated.
Yeah.
In the church, and how many outside the church
Yeah.
then?
No, I didn't date
2
outside
in
the
the
church.
oh, okay.
I didn't
Okay.
date outside the church. No, really, I didn't.
Okay.
No, for real.
She said, "Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You know some.
Yeah, no. For
No,
real.
so I was very like, oh, I don't know, and then he would come over a lot and just to have coffee, and then my mom one day is like, so what's really going on with you guys? And I was like, nothing. She's like, no, he's coming over a lot. You guys are going out to eat a lot. Like, no, what's going on? No, this age gap, he's too old for you. So my mom was so like against it. Like, no.
This was after he had confessed his feelings. So you never
Afterwards.
answered him. You never
Girl,
responded.
so you was telling your mom nothing? Okay.
Sure was not.
Okay.
Wait, did you ever respond when he
I-
told you how he felt, or
I
you
think,
just
did
kept
I
driving?
respond the same? I think I was like, when we were driving, I was like, yeah, you know, I feel the same way. But it was just like, okay, we like each other, so
Now-
let's just see where this goes.
Okay.
Never kind of like, this is, you know, marriage. It was just like, let's see where this goes. Let's continue our friendship. And yeah, my mom kept bugging me, and I was just like, no, nothing. And then, I don't know, time just flew by, I feel like. And then next thing I know, we were planning a wedding.
Well, when did you, between what?
So,
and what?
okay,
I'm not knowing.
So
Right.
it was like, I don't know how
I
it
think
happened.
it happened like really fast.
Yeah, our
The-
I think
dating
it
to-
the whole dating thing, because we were friends for a while, so
Yeah.
we were really good friends, right? But like I said, since I was kind of a dating right? I was dating somebody else, but we were friends.
You didn't say that.
So when I was, so before me and her dated,
Is
right?
this
I
the
was
first girl or the second girl?
The first girl doesn't matter. Anyways, right?
None of those girls matter.
There was a
Thank
girl,
you.
right? There was a girl that I was dated right before me and her became official.
Oh, okay.
So she was my friend this whole time. Meanwhile, that was going on. So yeah, I kind of got stuck.
Math.
Yeah.
It's a crazy.
No.
I think ours.
Because I
Yeah,
just
no,
realized
okay,
you
I
said you had
figured it out.
feelings for her. You were in a relationship when you said you had. So when
No,
you,
no.
like,
After
conflicted?
that ended.
Okay.
Yeah. So after my relationship ended, I was like, all right. So either I just stay single for the rest of my life, or just like, no, not for the rest of my life, but stay single for a while, or really find the right one. You know.
Oh, so you were looking.
And so like, I wasn't really like the fact that I was really looking, but I guess we can say my ex-girlfriend at the time, like, we also were going to church and we were praying about it, blah blah. But there was a point when we were dating, I was like, yeah, this chick is not going to be the one. Like, we have to cut it. Like, she kind of knew, but it was kind of hard to cut it because we really liked each other, whatever. But in reality, I was like, it's not going to work out. Like, me and her really didn't click, you know? Like, it just wasn't going to work out. Like, I knew as far as ministry-wise, like, it just wasn't going to work out either because we didn't really serve together, for to say, like in this like in the same ministry, for to say. So I was like, I have to cut it. So we did cut it. So then Gabby was always around. So I think the fact that we're always friends kind of made the whole transition a lot smoother and a lot faster.
Okay.
So
okay,
once
yeah.
I got over her, right, the ex-girlfriend, me and her obviously got a little closer because now there's no like, oh, we can't get too close because I have a girlfriend, blah blah blah. So once we started dating, obviously we knew each other for so long. Like she said, like, you know, we've been friends since she kind of came to church, or we were good friends.
Maybe.
So yeah,
She keeps saying.
yeah, and so then obviously I was getting older, and I'm like, okay, I think I kind of had to start doing something, and yeah, like I think we got really comfortable with each other, and we're like, hey, like I think we can like really take it to the next step.
And then at that point, my mom like realized like, okay, like he loves her and respects her. Like my mom started to see the little things, so she was kind of like, okay, he's a good guy. Like, you know, my mom was in church, so she's like, I know he's a good guy, and you know, if this is God's will for you guys, and blessings. So it was like, okay, great. And
Y'all were dating at the time, or that was her blessing for you guys to start dating?
we were like kind of dating before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna
I
say,
was-
did y'all ever date, or were y'all one of those like friendship to marriage kind of stories? Because the way you said it, you were like,
No,
and then
no,
we're
we
friends
ended
anymore?
up dating. So like, with our previous church, you know, their way of dating was like, you're dating to get married. So
okay.
it was, we were kind of like, and you know, we're friends right now, let's figure this out. And then we did make it official, like, and it was announced to the church that we were dating. And so
Oh, announced.
Then how soon
They
did you guys
announced
get
it.
married?
huh?
Since after the announcement, how soon did you guys get married?
A year after.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's
they
great.
announced us dating, and the end of that year, we did everything a little different. We actually booked our wedding venue before he actually proposed.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Remember, we booked it in October, and you proposed in February.
What?
Yeah. So we
Okay.
did everything really
That's what's
different
up.
because yes, we got. He has a bad memory.
Okay.
So we went to go look at venues, and we found the one, and we were kind of like, we already had talked about marriage and the date, and my mom went with us, and we loved it, and we were like, we just need to book it. And we booked it. I got my wedding dress, like, and it was kind of like very intimate where we knew this and our family knew this, like our parents, his parents, John and Eddie, and that was it. We kind of liked the intimacy part of it. So it was like we got to do all the special things with the people closest to us. And I loved that part of it. So we did everything, and then it was kind of like, surprise, you know, he popped the question, and then we announced it at the church, and that was February, and September we got married.
Was it a surprise to you that he proposed, or you mean surprise to the rest of the
Surprise
world?
to everyone else.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I was surprised when he did propose, and I think why we did everything so differently, or the opposite way per se, is because during that season he had lost his job, and then so I was very like, you know, if you give me the ring at our wedding day, I'm fine, because I knew, you know, financially he had lost his job, and I wasn't really like, oh, it's the ring.
Pressed
I
about
wasn't
it.
like, oh, it's a big deal. Like, we did the biggest thing to us, and we already said we're gonna get married. So to me, it wasn't a big, like, the ring wasn't like, oh, you need to propose and give me a ring. So when he did, it was like, oh, you were able to buy the ring. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know,
So it was even more special.
it was more special to me. And then, you know,
Good job, David, for a change.
and he,
Were you still nervous when you asked? Like, did you have the nervous feeling that men talk about having when they propose, or was it like, we've already done this, so I know she's gonna say yes?
I think I was like really. I already knew what I was gonna do, and I already had set my mind to do it. So it just
and
I just went with the flow.
he did an amazing job, because he proposed to me and he sang to me our first dance, the song we chose for our first dance for our wedding day.
Oh, you sing
So
too?
he like got down.
Who are you?
We're
What?
learning so much. Mysterious David. Like,
So yeah, he like, we did like a little, it's so crazy, our whole like season to getting married, because we went and Eddie was taking pictures of us. We're like, oh, let's do pictures. And then he took his guitar, and we were like, yeah, take pictures with your guitar. Like, we're both in worship. Like, we believe like worship is who we are. So we're like, it's symbolic to us. And we're kind of getting ready to leave. And then he's like, oh, hold on, I want Eddie to take a picture with me playing the guitar to you. And I was like, okay. So I'm just standing there, and then he starts playing the melody, and I was like, oh my God, that's like gonna be our first dance. And then I started crying, and then I just see him like turn around, and then he gets on one knee, and I was just a mess.
Oh, we need these pictures.
I was a
We need these
mess.
pictures.
Somewhere, right?
Yes.
I think Eddie has
that's so
So I was just like, oh my
Hey, we need those
God.
pictures.
good job, David. That was good. Wow.
Yeah, he did amazing. So
So I always wonder when people know, even not saying like that they've gone and planned like how, you know, to the extent that you all planned, but when people just, you know, kind of know, I'm like, well, did it feel like a surprise? Did it feel like you had a moment, you know, when you were proposed to? And so just the way that you described it, that already, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
it was
Very much so.
definitely.
Thank you.
Very impressive. Oh, we have to. You guys can find the pictures. Send them so we can post them.
We'll put them on the show. Yeah.
Yeah,
that'll
I
be
will
good.
have them. But yeah.
And
that's
so you
how
guys
we
have
did
been married how long now?
it. We will be 3
3
years
years
next month.
Oh, next month.
Oh.
What are we in right now? This is August, September.
September.
Oh, okay. So
September
fall
16.
wedding. Oh, awesome. And then,
Yes.
you know, because you still like young, I guess. I mean, people consider different things as young, and not
Yeah,
when
I'm
it
still
comes to
young.
getting married.
Far from it.
But young when you guys got married, like, did you all have any examples of marriage or love, things like that, in your families or in your community that you were
think our main goal was my sister and Eddie.
Yeah.
I want to say that was like our main one.
I grew up in a very my parents weren't the best role models, I would say, in a like marriage setting.
Okay.
I grew up seeing a lot of like division and, you know, violent things, like very tough things. So I remember being little and saying like, my marriage is going to be different. Like,
Yeah.
I am choosing to be different because I never want to endure or go through what they went through. And never at one point when I have kids, my kids have to see that. So for me, I didn't have that, and I really had to hold on to God's hand. Like, God, show me, like,
Yeah,
teach us.
what was that like going into marriage?
It was tough. I'm not gonna lie. For me, it was really tough because I was 22, 23? 22. Because I just turned 25.
22.
I was 22. So I was young, and then coming from a very broken family, it was kind of like, how do I make this different? And our first year was very tough because anything would trigger me, like, and he had to one day like literally sit me down and said, tell me, don't ever compare me to your dad. Like, you need to break that. Because anything he would do, I'm like, you're just like my dad, and you're being like my dad, and you remind, and it was like that constant, and he literally like broke that in me, because he's like, you will never compare me. I am not your dad. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize what I was doing to my marriage. So that was like 3-4 months into our marriage where it was constant. And I believe I brought in a lot of things into my marriage unconsciously. I went through like the whole depression stage, and I was molested when I was young. So like bringing all of that into the marriage was difficult and hard to get through. Yeah. Because I mean, he did a good job because he stuck it through, because I know it was hard. It was very hard for us. How was that
for you, you know, being husband over all of this, and figuring out how to be a husband, and, you know, like, how did you know how to help navigate you guys through that?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. Like, I really don't. I just knew what I didn't want from the marriage, and, like, what I didn't want to stuck with. So if I didn't like it, I'll just be like, I don't want that, and I'll be, like, really blunt about it, you know? Like, I remember one time when we were about to move into our apartment, I remember one time we had the discussion turned to an argument, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I'm tired of this, take me home. And I was like,
girl, you home.
And I was like, I got into this crazy marriage with this little girl, right? Like, literally.
Like,
she has
like, take me back
to
yeah,
my
like,
mom.
I'm like, she has like daddy issues, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not about to do this. So either I scared the bejeez out of her or something, right? So I was like, skirt! And
we were in the truck.
Yeah, I was in my dad's truck, and I just like tail whipped it, and she was so shook, and she was like,
I was shaking in the car, like crying.
It's so funny. So so bad. Anyways, so
we have a crazy story.
But so I already knew, like, it just triggered me, right? I was like, I don't want to get married with this like girl that says she wants to get married, but she has like daddy issues. Like,
this is before you all were married.
No, we were moving into the. It was the week of our wedding.
It was like a few weeks.
So the week of my wedding, I was just like, I don't know. Like,
so
everything was just.
I was kind of like, okay, like, she better not be the type where like she wants to get in a fight with me, and then she either runs back to her mom, or she wants to kick me out and have me go to my mom. So like, I don't want to do that, you know. So it triggered that, and I was like, I don't want that, because I think I've seen previous marriages where like, oh, what's the name? Went to her mom's house. Oh, she went to her mom's house. Oh, she's up at her mom's house. It's like, I don't want that in my marriage. So that's why I just scared her. I'm like, and I told her, I'm like, either you're going to go home, you're going to stay home, we're not going to do this, or you're going to push it through. And then she's like, all right, fine. So.
She was shook it.
Yeah.
You done turn the car.
So I think it's been like little things like that where I kind of like just like, sometimes, and she kind of knows when things are wrong with me, because I think I just kind of, obviously I'm not really the type to like really expose myself, like obviously like, oh, who are you? I don't know you play this, because I don't really talk about myself like that, or I don't really talk a lot about myself, I guess, you know. Well, I got lost. I'm sorry.
Well, you were saying
Matt, I'm gonna be
One
mad.
plus one.
Something added up.
Well, yeah, but at the end, like,
you're saying she knows when something's wrong.
Oh,
with you,
yeah, because of like all the stuff that we kind of went together, and the stuff that she kind of threw at me. Like, sometimes I think I just intake too much, and I just crack, you know. So sometimes when I'm at that point, she kind of knows when something's wrong, and she's like, "Dude, like, are you okay? Are you okay?" But it's just, that's kind of been the constant thing every here and there. Like, I don't think it's the best, you know, because then I don't know how to deal with my own situations, my own problems. But
did you guys do premarital counseling before, or counseling after you guys got married?
We did
that you had like.
We did a few classes with Eddie and Joanna.
Oh, okay.
But it helped so much. I just think I carried for so long so much baggage in my family, and if I'm honest and transparent, even to this day, like, I have a very interesting dynamic with my family where it's gotten to the point where he will have to sit me down and say, you need to like let go right now. Like you're bringing too much of your family into us. And it's a daily like work in progress. I'm constantly having to learn to just let go because I've always been the fixer of my family.
I know that one.
Yeah.
I know that one. Yeah,
So
yeah.
anything goes wrong and it's like, hey Gabby, can you come? Hey, this happened. Hey. And it's like, oh my gosh, how do I manage? So I've been having to learn like how to manage my husband, who's my first priority, and learning to tell them, you know what, I'm not available. You know what,
Boundaries.
you need to handle it yourself. No, I can't. You know, and that's been very tough for me in this season of life, having to just detach, because I've always been like there at all times, and it affected our marriage for a long time, where it was just like, it was constant arguments between us because I'm bringing baggage. So it's just been literally a daily work in progress that we're learning about that in our marriage.
Well, praise God for a patient husband and
Yes.
a self-aware wife, who knows, who's aware and willing to do the work. 'Cause
Yeah.
you could easily be resistant even when he's, saying like, okay, this is what I won't have. You could be fighting back with him. You could be, so
Yeah.
that's definitely awesome. And I mean, I guess I was going to ask, I asked about the premarital counseling because, we've talked before that we had a few different premarital counseling or premarital
Added all up, it was about a
counselors.
year.
And with people who were like in different stages of marriage too, so that was helpful. But then, even afterwards, we had like one meeting that was like a post-marital kind of meeting, but with other married couples, and it was just so interesting to hear like different challenges they were going through. Some have been married 18 plus years, others were newlyweds like us. We had been married about 4 months, I think, at the time. And I remember thinking like, oh, like this would be good to be able to keep up with, some kind of counseling, even if it's just like quarterly or something, just to check in now that we're encountering all those hypotheticals we talked about.
Yes and no, because
No?
at the same time, some of the people, they marriages were so bad, I said, I gotta get the hell out of here.
Right.
It's
Like,
y'all,
I don't
dude.
need your advice. No.
Even like one-on-one, because I'm like, we talked a lot of stuff in premarital counseling, but half the time I was like, I don't know, how many kids do we want? Okay, I'll give you a number. Do we imagine it'll be like this? Sure, hypothetically, but I'm like, how will I know until I get in it? And now that I'm in it, how do I cope, deal, navigate, So I definitely like always ask people like, what does your community look like marriage-wise? Like, do you have other wives who are supportive of you, who you can go to? Do you have like men who you talk to, like when you're feeling, I don't know what men feel, like closed in or challenged in some aspect of leading your house? Like, do you guys have that community of like married couples? Or?
So I would say that now
He's like, oh, that's a good idea.
He's like, I honestly would say that
Somebody help.
he's a mess. I would honestly say that a lot of my friends, because I'm younger, are not married.
Oh, okay.
So our first years of marriage, I felt like we really only had like Eddie and Joanna.
Right.
And Eddie and Joanna like have been amazing because they literally have been through every season of our lives and have guided us and helped us like so much.
That's awesome.
And I think now where we are being at All Nations, like, Marriage Matters, like that literally I feel has saved our marriage.
Our marriage small group.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
Marriage Matters.
amazing. Like learning from, their marriage, their stages, is like things they go through. We're like, oh my gosh, like we went through something similar, and like, wow, you did that. Maybe we could use that. You
get to
know,
feel normal.
Yes.
Like, okay, we're not the only ones
like
going through it.
not the only
Right.
crazy one.
Yep. Oh, you crazy just like us. Beautiful. I've been waiting to talk to someone about her. Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's been really, I think now, if I'm honest, I feel we've been at All Nations now for a year, but I still feel like I'm still new. But I need to break out of that shell and reach out more, because sometimes I do feel like we're going through things and I'm like, I don't know who to talk to, or I don't know who to reach out to, or, for so long I felt like, oh, I don't want someone to judge me, or I don't want someone to be like, well, why are you having, like, why do you think that? So I know right now in the season it's time to open up and like Lisa and Dre have been amazing too, because Lisa reached out to me like 2 weeks ago, and I was like going through just a bunch of things, and she really was like, I get it. Like, I know what you're going through. I know what it's like to have the hat of a wife and, you know, still trying to find yourself, your balance, because sometimes it's like, who am I today? Like, what? I don't know how to feel. So, I'm excited and I'm happy that we're in the home we are, because I know that we have the resources there. I think it's just a matter of us reaching out and like saying, hey, I need help. Like,
I think we're actually like similar. In that even today, when she was inviting everybody over, I said, oh, new friends. Okay. I want married friends, so let's make this happen. Okay, cool. So if you invite 3 over, we'll get at least 2 new friends, okay?
He was like, I'm going to get at least 1 new friend.
I'm going to put my expectations low. They're going to be low, so if it's more than 2, we did something.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite. I'm like,
yay,
new friends. We're all going to be friends. He's like
bring everybody, bring the kids. What's going on? So yeah, completely get it.
But we did it, yeah.
Trying to find just people to connect to.
Right, and I think for me, my biggest thing, and I've always told David, is like, I really just want honest and like authentic relationships. Like, I don't want the whole like, I felt for so long it was like you had to be like holy, and it was like I couldn't talk like about real issues, because then it was like you were looked down upon. So I'm like, I just want real authentic like married couples that we can talk to and be like, this is what it is, and what do you guys think, or let's talk about this. So because for so long I feel like people don't want to have those real raw conversations ever. So definitely.
And that was, I mean, you touched on it. That was one of the things I was going to ask, was how is it that you guys have found, you know, maintaining your individual selves in the midst of being married, especially being at like the ages that we're at, where you're still kind of developing like who you are and what is it that you're here to do, and how do you balance that with being a wife or being, you know, a husband. So it's a journey. Because we're on the same journey. We get it. We get it. Were you gonna say something?
I don't know if I should.
No, say it.
I've been talking about
And I was gonna ask you, like, do you feel like you have other husbands who you can go to or talk to?
Obviously I think I do, but it's kind of like what Gabby said. Like, I think it's just a matter of me reaching out. You know, like I think our church does have those resources, and I'm grateful for it. You know, because I think at our old church, we didn't have those resources, but Eddie and Joanna, because they were like the first youth couple to get married.
Okay.
Everybody else was like 40, 45. And I think because of the traditional church part of it, it just made everything kind of weird.
Okay.
Main example, we couldn't really talk about, you know, sex and stuff like that. Like, that was kind of prohibited. Like, you know, like stuff like that we didn't really talk about because of that, you know. So now that we're here, like she said, like, marriage matters. That was really open. That's something normal.
They talking about have a 30-day sex challenge.
I mean, if it's not happening,
I was like,
trying to be fine.
And I was all for it.
Oh,
that's why he was looking.
Yeah, that's all I was like.
Mom and Dad.
She's so sorry.
The birds and the bees.
6 years old.
I should have given you a little tap.
I'm like, who was he looking for? Max? I'm like, what's going on?
Max.
My bad.
But I think we do have the resources now, you know, and I'm grateful for it. But normally what I end up doing, I obviously, like, I like going to the gym a lot, so that's where I kind of relieve my stress. So, for example, like, I got this, like, new job now, and I'm kind of, like, really stressed out about it sometimes, and so I'm kind of like, I don't want to go home, because I don't want to go home and tell her all my business about work and being stressed out. Why go home with a bad attitude like that, you know? So I'm kind of like, I just go to the gym, release my stress, and just come home and like, cool, let's chill, let's watch some TV, let's eat some snacks, like, what's up? How was your day at work? And then she's like, well, let me tell you what happened. I'm like,
sorry.
I'm like, you need some friends, like, you, like, she needs something.
He tells me that all the the time.
Oh, hey, what
he'll
are
be
you
like,
doing
"Where
tomorrow?"
are your friends?
Y'all wanna hang out?
I'm going to church. I'll fly there. What am I doing
Like
tomorrow?
last time she came up to me and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out." I'm like, "Thank God."
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't want me home?" I was like, "No, like,
Who says
get
that?
That
out."
sounds just like him.
Get some
Everybody likes some alone time sometime.
Thank you.
That sounds just like him. That's what
That-
we
And
do.
I'm
You
agreeing with
should
David,
go.
so we
You
know
should
what's the
go.
problem. Yeah.
But whenever I do go out, it's like I feel like I come home a lot more like energized in a different way, you know?
Yes.
So like the
listening?
girls' night
Are
out
you
thing. I
listening?
didn't go this time. I saw you were there.
Yeah.
She
But,
saw
like,
pictures. She said,
because I was gonna ask if you were going, and I was like, oh, I should ask like if they're gonna be there. And then I saw you guys in the pictures. I tiredness just hit me like a wave, girl, and I drowned in it, so I did not make it. But I remember the first girls' night out I went to, and I was hesitant because we've been there about
I
a year.
didn't go the first time.
Oh, the bowling one. Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, I was hesitant.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'll just stay at home and watch TV.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
almost did. And then I was like, well, if I go, who will I hang out with, or who will I sit
Right.
with, or who will I talk to? Because I have like a lot of relationships I'm forming, but then I feel like people already
Have
know
that.
each other.
Yeah, same.
So it's kind of like, are we cool enough to where I can like sit and just jump in the conversation, or you know? So it was a little uncomfortable. But I was glad I went because I felt like I came back in a really good mood and like, oh, that was fun. And, you know, it wasn't like super deep conversations, but it was still kind of like, yeah, I talked to a few different people who I hadn't gotten to know before. And we had a good time.
FYI, girls' night out is like a church event where the women get together.
Yeah, we go
Just
out
so
on
the
the
people
town.
know. They're like, what are you-
Yeah, girls night out.
What are you
So
talking
we go out on
about?
the town. So we went to downtown Disney. This past month was for like Redlands Market.
Farmers Market.
Yeah, like a farmers market, like street market thing. And so just kind of being out and socializing. But it's just so free. Like I do good with like organized things. Like game night, boom, I can do that. I can be very competitive. Team something, okay. But just like, oh, we're just all going to be out hanging and it's up to us to just kind of float.
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm just going to walk back here
Yeah.
by myself.
You're like, I left something in the car, guys. Where's Gabby?
I just actually
She's home.
She's on her car.
Right, she's
on
on her
Instagram.
I'm like, what are they doing?
Like she just checked in, but I haven't seen her. Okay,
Yeah, that's me.
Well, good to know. So we can look out for each other. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
No,
yeah.
that's
That's
does tell
awesome.
me that all the time that I need friends.
And we've talked about even having like husband community too, you know, or even especially like now that we're expecting like having that parent community and like what does that look like, and you know a lot of advice comes our way, but then it's different when you're like being intentional about forming relationships and feeling like. And I think one thing I like about the guys at our church is that a lot of people have voiced some of the things that you've mentioned, David, and as a result they've been intentional about saying, hey, like I want to be your friend, you know, and they don't seem to act weird about it. I know maybe they feel weird, but it doesn't seem like they're like acting weird. So there's been y'all are so petty.
Officially
We're friends today.
We're friends.
He did the tap.
Yeah. You're like, knighted.
But I appreciate that because it's like, oh, like guys are just as vulnerable, awkward too, you know, and it takes that step sometimes to say like, hey, like I'm interested in having like a cool relationship, and I don't know what comes next, you know, I'm not a part of those conversations, but it's like, okay, so that's something we do and it's not weird, like, okay, cool. Yeah.
And we've had that conversation too where I'm like, you need to hang out more like the married guys too. And he's like, yeah.
Oh, do you have a lot of single friends? You're like how she was saying your friends are mostly single too?
I think I have half and half actually.
Yeah, he has half.
No, I do.
Half.
I make friends like everywhere.
Oh,
but
like,
I think
really
with
do.
David
really do.
is he works. Again, his work can be so stressful that sometimes I feel he's like work, gym, home, and then sometimes I'm like, you know, go out, but then at the same time, like, no, stay home. Like I haven't seen you all week.
And he's like, yeah, I'll stay home. You go out. Thanks.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, and we get that routine thing too, where it's like sometimes people like that's all that we do between like church, work, and so when we do have like a day, it's like, what do you want to do today? Nothing. That would be great.
That's
like
me.
Just to be.
That's like you, like every night.
That is. I'm not gonna lie.
Like I enjoy socializing, but the work up to it takes a lot of energy.
Like, okay, so we been at our own place because once we got married, we had our own place, and then after that, financially, we had to move in with his mom, and then we moved in with the roommate. So we're back on our own. So now I'm like,
well, that's a journey. Wow!
Yes.
Congratulations.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah,
Glory to
congrats.
Him.
Oh yeah, it's like transition good, bad.
Yeah.
Transition go bad.
Right.
Now we're good.
So now
That's
that we're in
cool.
our own place, like, because his job has been stressful, my job has been super crazy, and I've been working in Lancaster and coming like back.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's been
So dry.
like I'll be 3 days out there, 2 here, and just back and forth.
Wow.
So for me, like, I come home and I'm like, I just want to enjoy our home.
Yeah.
Like, be at home. Like, so Saturdays, I'm like, I just want to be home. And he's like, let's go out. And I'm like, how do I just stay home and watch Law and Order and, you know, eat ice cream all day? So, yeah, I'm a home person, and he likes to go out.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to also, like, find the balance there, too.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I need to stop being lazy and get out of bed.
No, I get
I'm
it,
trying.
girl. I have to push myself sometimes. He has to push himself too. If I'm like after Downtown Disney Girls Night, I was like, oh, you would love Downtown Disney. We should go. And I literally had to like surprise him while we were out. Like, let's just drive down there now. He was like, okay, I'm gonna say okay. Like, okay. But once we got there, it was
said it
great.
out loud, huh?
Yeah, he said it out loud.
Okay, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna go.
He's like, I don't want to. I just want, but I'm like, okay, it'll be good. I just started driving. And he enjoyed it, but I know like things like that. That's how we went. That's how we went
have to go again. I did it.
That's
Check.
how we went to Mexico for
can.
his birthday. Like, so I'm like, I know if I try to give him a planet, he's gonna give me reasons why maybe now's not the best time. So it was a surprise. He went to sleep. He woke up. He was in Mexico. Like
That's so nice.
So
of
certain
you.
things sometimes you just gotta
just do it.
put her to sleep. She'll wake up and wherever.
Wake
you
up at
have
the
her.
gym.
Yeah, wake up at the gym. And, like, set up an ice cream.
She'll be in the car on Instagram talking about, I'm not doing this.
Right. I think I
I
left
like the
something in
gym.
the car.
She might have taken a picture
I heard-
on the treadmill.
I heard-
and
You
walked back
heard?
out.
Yeah, I heard from him.
You already told him that I don't like the gym?
You
Remember,
never-
I took a screenshot and I shit.
Oh. I can't with your guys' DMs to each other. I cannot. Yeah, I don't like the gym.
No, and I'm glad that you said also, I think I remember you said it, David, about the transitions, the ups and downs, because I know, I can't speak for Brian. I know, like, for me, sometimes I feel like the goal is to just be on this constant trajectory going up, you know? Like, and at least maybe it seems that way. And I appreciate that there's so many transparent folks at our church where they'll talk, you know, even like Pastor Greg was saying, he was in a season where he wasn't working, and then he got a job and he was able to be permanent. And so I'm like, oh, like, even people who have been married for a while or who have kids, you know, they still have these seasons. Because when we hit a good season, we're like, we're never going back to that place again where we weren't doing well, you know?
Where did all that money go?
And then we end up somewhere and we're like, are we bad at this adulting thing? Like, do we just suck? Are we irresponsible? Are we reckless? But we're trying our best, you know, we're learning.
Everyone
you know?
goes through it.
Yeah.
We went through it literally 3 months into our marriage. We got married September, and December I lost my job. Our first year of marriage. And I was without a job, unemployed for like 3.5 months. So it was like newlyweds, we have a new apartment, new bills, and he had to take a second job, and it was tough. Like, I remember thinking, like, this is marriage? Like, this is what I got into? Wow. But it was like it's ups and downs. But through the ups and downs, like, you really just become closer. Like, you really learn to grab a hold of each other and God, and like, God, you brought us together and you're going to bring us out together. So, okay, let's do it. So we literally went through that our first year of marriage, and then literally we celebrated our 1-year anniversary, and we were living at his mom's. And, you know,
my gosh.
yeah, it was like, wow, how did we go from getting married and being so great, and now we're like struggling, and it's only year 1, like no kids, no nothing, what? And then we had to move in with the roommate, and literally we just got our place in April.
Oh, wow.
So it was literally, we felt like we were just kept going down, down, and down. But it really just brought us closer, and you learn, and by God's grace, you make it through.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of like, okay, we're not going back there.
Yeah.
No matter what, because it's tough. Like, you know, your privacy is kind of stripped, you know, and you're just kind of like, how? Like, we're both working, we're both doing this. How are we still not seeing this money? Like, where is it going? Why?
Questions that need answers.
Yeah, like,
your dad's gonna hear this. Okay, sit. Send the numbers over. Let me run the numbers.
Yeah, because we have the resources. I don't know. I mean, I could probably figure out what happens, and I think for me that makes it hard sometimes to be vulnerable too, because I have other, and I think for a while I was probably blaming it on us living in California, and you guys are from California, I presume. So like, we're not. So it just seemed like people back home were doing okay. Granted, we don't have these deep conversations with them, but in my mind, I'm like, oh, like I'm tired of being the one who's always like, oh, money's tight, or or like having to figure out a way to kind of skirt around something, because it just seems like that's not everyone else's issue right now, right? And the expectation, I think, like you said, with both working, it's like, okay, 2 incomes, like this should be smooth as butter, right? And then it's like, where did this come from? Where did that come? Okay, let's just handle it. Okay, now that's handled. Okay.
And then it does put like a strain, like a kind of like a burden on your marriage too, because now you're like, oh, these finances, what is going on? And we would be sometimes arguing about finances, like, oh my God. And in that time of having to live with somebody else, it was like, I would be like, really, you're gonna have me here still? Like, when are we gonna figure this out? And I was always like pushing him. But he's really good at finances, so he'd be like, hold on. Like, I know when we're going to do it. Like, hold on. We have to move this around. We have to move that around. And, again, it was like I had to be patient and trust him as the head of our home. Like, you're going to figure it out, and I'm going to support you, and I'll have your back. So, yeah, definitely everything in marriage is like...
Yeah, the pressure of husbandhood. Good grief. God bless you.
I
mean, wife life isn't super easy either.
I don't do the finances. Count is connected.
But he still
the money's there, paying bills. If anything is wrong, it's your fault.
That's not true. But the thing is that we've explained it before. Like, when we say I do the finances, meaning like, I know like the timeline for the bills and stuff, and I make sure for the most part that it's handled, or if there's things that need to be moved around, like I'm aware, and so I'm letting him know like, hey, we're gonna have to move this, move that. And part of that is because he doesn't like seeing money leave the account, so he doesn't like physically going on and saying, okay, pay now. Me, I enjoy being like, okay, just get that off the list. Okay, just get that off the list. So he's like, okay, you do that part, and I'm like, that's fine with me. But then we have to have conversations when he's like, oh, I feel like we should do something, treat ourselves, let's go out. And I'm like, whoa, wait. I don't want to stress you out, but let's have a conversation, And so that's,
it happened today. She said,
Yeah, we got in this argument even when he was getting the car handled. Like he handles the car stuff and all of that, but he was doing stuff, and I don't know how much those things cost or how often it's really supposed to be. And when I found out that it cost more than what I thought it was, I was like, wait, what is costing that? Like, show me like the breakdown. And then he was getting frustrated at me, like, just let me handle it. Like, this is one thing that I do well that you have nothing to do with. So I'm like, I get that, but he said something like, well, just if I know that. Something like, I know that we can afford it, so and I'm like, how do you know we can afford it?
Do you know that we can afford it?
How do you know what we can afford it? I'm the one looking at the account. Like, you don't know what got paid.
My account says that we cannot do that. Hello, Chase.
So, and then it's a matter of finding timing. Like, when I tell him certain things, it's like, like, hey. Okay, not the right time. The little few hours saying like, hey, didn't want to stress you out earlier. Just so you know, here's the situation. Here's what happened. It's been taken care of though, but just be aware, Yeah. But it is a sensitive topic. It does cause strife, and it makes you you have to be very aware that we're still on the same team. Right. We're on the same team. And I think even though he doesn't manage the finances, I think he feels the burden more when there's something off. Because me, I'm like, we've been through it once, we'll get through it again. Like, okay. But for him, like I said, I don't know what it's like about being a husband, but it just seems like it weighs on him more, and I can see it like working on his mind more. And to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, can you just put that down for a minute? Like, what can we do? Let's just enjoy each other. Like, what can we do? And I can see it stressing him, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Just the thought of it is making me shake.
Right, me too. I'm like thinking about my account right now.
Maybe it is like the husband
My account's cool right now, but it's just...
So I'm just like, because I'm thinking about the times. I'm like, I work so hard at that job. I do all the extra driving to get this mileage check with it. And we need what? No, we don't need anything.
That's the thing.
It's there.
That's the difference between us. He'll work extra hard to make sure that there's, extra money and stuff like that. And to me, I'm like, don't stress yourself. Like, I don't want you coming home stressed. If you want to leave early, leave early. Me, I'm like, if I want to leave early, I'm going to leave early. He's like, babe, stay and make that money. And I'm just like, but to me, I'm like, work-life balance is important, how I feel. And he's like, how are you going to feel when there's no money in the account? Like, after we pay rent. How does that feel? We know what that feels like. Focus on the goal. And me and mine are like day to day. Like,
I think that's my main goal, though. I'm going to let this topic go.
Okay.
Just to, like, parent me, like, whatever.
After
just to get to that one, whatever. Like this month, I'm so happy. There are 5 weeks in this month.
Oh yeah.
Because there's an extra patient.
Thank the Lord.
That's true.
Well, thank you, Lord.
That's true.
Yeah, we got to get to the traffic light.
Oh, yes. Okay, so we like to wrap it up when we have a double day episode with a traffic light. For those who have not heard the traffic light segment before, we have the green light, which means...
Keep going, babe. You're doing such a great job.
Yes, and then we have the yellow light, which means...
Slow down. You're almost irritating me.
And then our red light.
You really need to stop before I pop off.
So you guys can choose, or if you have multiple lights, that's fine too. But if you only have one, you can just share that.
Red.
Do you want to go first?
You want to go first?
I'll do green light first.
Okay.
I don't clean at all.
Oh.
Like, the only thing I love to clean is my part of the closet. So, like, my clothes and my shoes. Like, I like to keep that organized. Other than that, that's about it. So,
nothing.
On the weekend, like, I come home from, like, if I had to work today, like, if I had to work Saturdays, I go home and the house is, like, spotless. I'm like,
wow.
Yes! Like, I didn't do a single thing.
That's a good feeling. I know that feeling because he does a lot of the cleaning. Yeah. That's a good feeling.
I love it. Like, I think my main thing is, like, the restroom for some reason. Like, something, like, I'll go in the restroom and it's, like, it smells like whatever candles you put. And to me, that's, like, amazing. And I feel bad because I don't tell her a lot. But just that feeling when she does it, I'm like, yes. And I look around, everything's clean, like, cool. And the first thing I do is just jump on the bed because it's just clean.
It's mess up the bed.
Yeah. So I love that.
The child. Jump on the bed. Okay.
Listen, she said, we have our home. I'm going to steward this house. Yes. All right, Lord, we are not going back.
Yeah.
But then, like,
beautiful.
The next day on Monday morning is like,
my clothes everywhere.
Makeup here, makeup there.
Isn't it crazy how that happens?
Like, and then she starts to blame me for it, and I only have like my daughter and my gel. That's it. Like, I'm like, what? Like, oh my god. But anyways, that's green
awesome.
light. That's green light for me.
That's so sweet.
I have a red light. Just because I love you.
I'm gonna pop you.
So, David knows that I love to sleep. So my red light is that when I have got ready for bed and I'm in bed, I need David to stop pulling the covers and throwing things at me to wake me up.
Why are you waking her up? Just to.
Why do you do that?
Just to mess with me.
It's like
and
9:30, 10.
Oh, you gotta
I need to work tomorrow. I'm like, you're getting like 9.
But it's like a child,
plus
like
hours of sleep. Like what?
Like I'm in bed, like sleep, like I'm already like in a dream, and then I just feel someone pulling the covers, and I'm sleeping, so I'm just like, and then I feel him tickling my feet, and he's recording me, and it just like,
yo, you're trash.
What? He's not. I don't think he knew what was happening. He like laughed at you, then his face was like.
Because in my head, I'm like, I'm seeing feet, I'm seeing tickle, but then I see the camera, and I'm like, whoa. So it's a laugh, but then it's like, she's trying to sleep trash. A mix. Okay, sorry.
No, it's not like it really makes me like angry where I'm like screaming at him, and I'm like, I'm gonna punch you. So baby, please stop.
Let her sleep.
He said,
my
not
beauty
even
sleep.
Yes or no.
He's not going to stop.
He's not,
he
but
said, okay, cool.
You know, I had to just put it on the podcast so the whole world knows.
He said,
But yeah.
Your comments have been recorded. Okay.
We're gonna rewind this.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, did you guys have another light to share, or that? Because you said you're doing that first. You don't have to. Just.
Oh, you're gonna do a red?
It's like a yellow.
Okay.
Orange,
Oh,
but
you
it
just
turned
said you
yellow,
had it.
orange. You need to stop like spending randomly.
I ain't in this one because I got an Amazon Prime that stays hot.
Y'all need a support group.
She'll get excited like as soon as payday comes. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to Target. I'm gonna do this." And I'm all like,
Okay,
"Like for
I'll
real?
try.
Like you haven't even paid your bills yet. Like how are you spending before you pay your bills?"
I
Like,
worked so hard for this check.
Gotta treat yourself.
That's what he said.
midweek. She's like, "Hey,
Babe,
you send
can you
some
sell me
gas?
some
Can
money?"
you sell me some money? Can you sell me some money?" And I'm like, "What?" And there's like, and then I go to the closet and there's like Marshall bags on the floor, Old Navy bags on the floor. I'm like, why are you buying this random clothes and you haven't even worn it? Like, I'm gonna return it. I'm like,
I don't return things ever, just
I'm like,
so you guys all know.
when?
I'll give
When
it
are you
away
gonna go?
instead.
Like, when are you gonna go?
Yeah.
So, I'm like, yeah.
I'll try, baby.
You need to stop. That's a
You
red.
said it
That's
was
my-
a yellow.
That's a red.
So he said it's so red.
That's a red.
It was a yellow, so I'll
Well,
try.
give a number.
Yeah.
Give a number, a budget. Be like, okay, when you get paid, this is your
What's the
entertainment.
budget? I'm just kidding.
She said budget.
I just found out what one was this month. So
No.
Share that later.
Oh, well, it's been awesome having you guys. Seriously. Now,
Thank
when
you.
we first invited them, they were like, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. But y'all have so much good stuff to share. Seriously, we appreciate the openness and the transparency as well. Y'all are very vulnerable, you know. So I know that there's going to be people who can relate, feel encouraged, feel like they're not alone in their marriage or in their expectations of marriage, you know.
You're not alone.
Yeah. Come on, you gonna give us a song? Because we heard you.
I think that's where you're going.
That's what I wanted
Oh, Jesus.
That's
Help
what I
him, Lord.
wanted
Yeah.
All right.
to. So we need to hang out. So we can sing.
And be sure to send us those pictures too. We want to see those proposal pictures. But thank you guys so much, seriously, for just being
Thank
down
you
to
guys.
share and being so open and just so.
And y'all drink a lot of coffee, so hopefully when we have it, it's going to be really good.
I know, because
So can't
we
wait
were just
to
talking about that
taste
today.
it.
I'm like, she invited us for coffee. I need to try this coffee. It must be something special. Because when John asked if you wanted to bring something, I was like, can she bring the coffee? Or is that something that she has to prepare at the house? Like,
You prepare coffee at the house.
she invited us for
for you
coffee.
guys.
Okay, I thought it was some
I did not
special
know this.
coffees
She said zucchini
that
bread
was
and
passed down
coffee.
from generation to generation.
It's
guess
just coffee
I'm-
with cinnamon.
Oh, okay. I love coffee. Whatever.
He does, and I'm liking it.
Starbucks
more now.
made a trash coffee for me today. It's still here, but you know, we'll
And
talk
I
about that.
hope that breaks.
Anyhow, had to get that in. If you're not following us on our social media platforms, please do.
Yes.
Everything is at Stoked to be the Stokes.
Just as it sounds.
And again, thank you for getting us to 106 subscribers on YouTube. We really appreciate that. And if you're listening on a podcast and you are not following us on YouTube, you need to go subscribe and do that.
Yes.
That concludes this episode of Stoked to be the Stokes with Brian Lamar Stokes.
And Ariana Stokes.
Now remember, with love,
faith
honesty,
and respect,
we'll get through anything. See you next Tuesday.
Bye, y'all.